we are back after a little bit of a hiatus. Welcome back to Red Sox Recaps, Series Recap number 15. Oh, Ricky's about getting ready to play his song, too.
Keep going.
And, yeah, we're having fun. We were about to recap another Red Sox series. Oh, great music choice. I didn't see this one coming. Great. Last Dance. You gotta love it. So, we're back better than ever. We figured what a better time it would be to pick up where we left off and recap a series sweep over the New York Yankees. The second time the Red Sox have done that this month. Once again, I'm joined by my co-host, Ricky, now in Florida. How are you doing, Ricky?
I'm doing all right. This series was great. It was so good too. I'm down in South Florida, and I was able to watch 2 of these games, so that was awesome. I mean, it was great to enjoy the Sox, even though I'm not at home. Like that was one of the highlights of the trip. It's been a good trip, but that was great too. So can't go wrong.
And just a quick disclaimer to everyone wondering why I'm wearing sunglasses. It's because, the Red Sox are so hot, it's just burning my eyes. So, got to protect all 4 of my eyes, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, I mean, Ricky just reached out to me today and was like, hey, let's restart the podcast. What better time to do it than after a sweep over the Yankees? And second time they've done that this month. Gotta love it. I personally didn't see that coming. This is the first time in 10 years where we've swept the Yankees in back-to-back series. And if you compare this 2021 team to the 2011 team, as much as that season ended badly, just blows this team out of the water. So the fact that this group, which I still don't consider in the powerhouses of the AL, is doing this to the Yankees, a team that so many people are disappointed by, it's great to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Yankees so far, to go off the disappointing thing, this is kind of, I've been waiting to say this take. Like, again, back when we were doing the podcast, before we took the break, the Yankees were struggling then too, but I felt like it was almost premature. But now that we're in July, practically 3 months into the season, I think this Yankees team, I don't know if you would agree with this too, or a lot of other Sox fans, but this Yankees team reminds me a lot of that 2019 Red Sox team, where they're not horrible, like they're 10 to 20 games below 500, but they're also not as good as they should be. Like their ceiling is higher and they're not performing to that. They're only, I think, 3 games above 500 now, and they've always been a few games above 500, but they've never been able to break 10 plus games above. And that's how the 2019 Red Sox were too, where they had all of those guys practically from that World Series team. I mean, they re-signed a lot of guys, even guys like Steve Pearce that were just veterans that they brought in. They brought back guys like Evaldi, all those pitchers, and they weren't terrible, but they failed to really make a splash like everyone was expecting. I feel like those Yankees too, Yankee fans, I almost kind of can almost, and I hate to say I understand Yankee fans, but I almost kind of get the frustration because that's how the Red Sox were 2 years ago, and everyone made fun of them just like they're making fun of the Yankees. Oh, this team should be way better than they are, and in reality, they were really underperforming. So, yeah.
I think that's definitely a good comparison because the 2019 Red Sox minus, I want to say, Joe Kelly, Craig Kimbrell, Rick Porcello, I think, too, was mostly the same team that just won the World Series a year before. I didn't like us re-signing Evaldi at the time. I still think it's definitely a big overpay. I mean, he's having a pretty solid year this year, but the Red Sox have just had a history of, giving out bad contracts, and you're basing it off of half of a season, giving Evaldi $70 million. And, it hasn't really been a great investment so far. It's been good, but it hasn't been great. And then, I do think we definitely underperformed that year. I mean, obviously we finished in third, 84 and 78, and we just won 100 plus games the year before. So I think you're seeing something like that similar with the Yankees. I mean, they've been on a good run where 2017 they took the Astros to 7 games, I think, in the or it was either 2016 or 2017 where they took the ALCS to 7 games and they had a 3-2 lead. It was either the Indians or the Astros who were able to come back and advance to the World Series. Obviously, the heartbreaking finish in 2019 where Jose Buzzer Altuve hit the walk-off home run to end Game 6. And then the Yankees' playoff hopes that year. And then Last year, you come out on the shortened season, and they kind of lay an egg. I mean, that really should have been their division to win, but the Rays went on a Cinderella run all season, obviously making it the World Series and taking the Dodgers to 6 games. But so many people expected the Yankees to take the division and be a serious threat to win it all. And I mean, that's what you got to expect when you give someone like Garrett Cole 300 plus million. I mean, you want to be a contender, and it's just not been working out for them so far. Obviously, they have the roller coaster ride with Gary Sanchez, where when he's good, he's amazing. I mean, we've seen what he can do behind the plate and at a home plate with his power. Aaron Judge is still doing solid. I mean, he's batting 285. He has 17 homers. Right. So I don't really know what the problem is. I just think it's, just when it rains, it pours, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're really struggling too with divisional teams too. I mean, they've been okay with the Blue Jays, handling them pretty well, and the Orioles are obviously pretty lousy. And they're doing a little better with the Rays than they were at the beginning of the year. But to be losing the way they are to the Red Sox and Rays, that's actually really concerning, honestly, for Yankee fans. And again, not that I am concerned for them or anything, but I know the TBS broadcasters pointed that out, and I liked seeing that broadcast because that's not Yes or Nesson. So it was kind of interesting to hear their take on the Yankees situation. And yeah, I feel like a lot of people are kind of in agreement on that too, like that the Yankees are really in a bad spot, especially considering the divisional play. Like another thing I saw too is, and this is more of a joke, but someone tweeted this, and it was a banger tweet. They said every time the Red Sox play the Yankees, it's like when the Harlem Globetrotters play the Generals, because they just beat them every time.
That's what it's been like so far this season. I mean, to your point, only 2 of the games, or maybe 3. I think 2 of the games in the first series we played were pretty close, but there was only 1 game this series where you're like, okay, maybe the Yankees can come back, but nothing came out of it. So we are really just dominating them, as you said. It's just not even close. And the other thing I just read about this, and this isn't verbatim, but the Yankees are going to be in trouble in a couple of years when they have to pay Judge, because Judge, I think we can both agree, I don't know the exact market for him, but he's going to get 200 plus million. I think that's fair to say.
For sure. Yeah, definitely.
So you figure they're going to have to pay Judge 200 plus million. They already have Garrett Cole at 324 million. I read somewhere they're not going to be able to keep Judge. Stanton's another one. He's making 325 million.
Right.
They're not going to be able to keep Judge, Stanton, Cole. Their young guy, Gio Urshela, they're going to have to hit the reset button in a couple of years. So
yeah,
that's just if this is why it probably hurts so much for Yankees fans too, because they haven't made a World Series since they won it back in 2009. They haven't even gone to the final round in 12 years now. And the fact that if you don't win it in the next couple of years, it's probably going to be a while until you win it again.
Exactly.
That's probably a tough pill to swallow.
The age thing as well. That's a huge issue too. Like I always forget that Aaron Judge is almost 30. And you look at Luke Voigt's 30 and
Brett Gardner
is above 31. Brett Gardner's 37 now.
50. It seems like he's been on the team for years.
Is Chapman's getting up there, I think, right?
I think he's on the wrong side of 30. I want to say he's I'll look it up right now.
Garrett too is 30.
Yeah, 33 for Chapman. And, I think the Red Sox, and maybe a year later, I mean, we all are a lot of us are still probably fuming over losing Mookie, but maybe that was the right time for Chaim Bloom. I mean, give credit to him for hitting the reset button at the right time.
Right. Yeah. Sox core, you look at their farm system and all those guys in the next couple years, which we can talk about later. One of them was in this series too. You look at those guys compared with the Yankees, it's like the Yankees, again, too, like the 2019 Red Sox, that core of guys is getting really old. DJ LeMahieu's above 32. You really look at that. It's like Gio Urshela's not old.
Luke Voigt, I think, is still young.
Luke Voigt's 30. I thought he was
30.
25. Yeah.
Wow.
Checked that the other day, and I was really surprised. And Clint Frazier's pretty young, but hasn't really found himself yet. He's like a Bobby Dahlback kind of guy. They've got Gio, obviously. They've got some decent like young pitchers and relievers. But yeah, you look at the Yankees, like that core of guys, their best pitchers, their best
Gary Sanchez, 28.
yeah, they're really getting up there. Like the Red Sox have guys that are older, like Renfroe and JD and whatnot, but they also have that whole group of young guys that's almost ready, like Jaron Duran and Connor Wong we saw. Yeah, let's go Duran. And
bring him up.
Jones. Like, we're ready. We ready.
And part of the reason why the MLB community all gangs up against the Yankees is because they love to see the high payroll teams fail. It's so easy to root for the underdogs. Like the A's had a whole movie based on them, and they're in a small market, and their payroll is like crazy low. Maybe doesn't even hit the 100 million threshold. Where you have teams like the Yankees and us as fans of the Red Sox, and LA Dodgers, Jeepers Creepers, their payroll is just through the roof. I mean, you love seeing them fail because they essentially try to cheat the system. They use being in big markets to their advantage, so they are able to, not worry about paying off the taxes that come with exceeding the threshold. And you just try to cheat your way to a championship. So that's why the fans love it when these big market teams fail. And now it's weird because I know this analogy has been used so much since Chaim Bloom came to the Sox, but it's almost like he's operating with the Red Sox as he was with the Tampa Bay Rays, where you're treating your team as if you're like a low payroll team. You're hoarding prospects. You're not willing to move anyone, not willing to make any rental moves. And it's all about, what Chaim Bloom has said since the beginning of his tenure, which is sustainability.
Right.
I would trade a couple bad years for 10 great years where we're contenders. And that's the plan for the Sox. And I mean, we're ahead of schedule this year, but I'm starting to, I've been changing my tune on Chaim this whole year, honestly. I mean, I know we both gave him a lot of crap for that Mookie trade. That really isn't fair to Chaim because I think we can both agree that the ownership decided to move Mookie months before they hired Chaim when he didn't want to sign that extension. So Chaim was just kind of like the scapegoat in the situation. But we're doing good with that trade. And I mean, I like Chaim's vision.
Yeah, I definitely agree too. Like looking back in that in retrospect, it's almost like that was beneficial. Like you mentioned earlier with the Dodgers thing and them being a bigger market. And obviously the Red Sox are a bigger market team, but I actually think more people nowadays are seeing them, believe it or not, as like the underdog almost. I'm getting that vibe this year because a lot of people, even people, I haven't seen as much in TikTok terms slander of the Red Sox as I typically see. I feel like, and I don't like making other sport comparisons, but I almost feel like the Red Sox are like the Phoenix Suns this year, where like no one really expected the Suns to do as good as they did. They expect them to be good, but the Suns are a fantastic team, and I don't know if the Red Sox can go that deep in the playoffs or even make, but I'm pretty sure they probably will at this point, but at least a wild card if they keep this up. But I feel like you could almost like it like the NBA too, going back to your point too about the people wanting to see the larger markets fail. You definitely see that with other sports too. I feel like that's like becoming a universal thing now because the NBA, everybody was happy when the Nets lost. Everybody was happy when LeBron lost. Everybody's rooting against the Clippers. It's like people want 76ers. It's like people want these big teams to fail. And I kind of like that, honestly, because it makes the sport more fun. And especially for baseball, like seeing Yankees, Dodgers, Astros, those teams like every single year would get really boring, like the NBA used to with Warriors, Cavs. It's like you want to see.
Don't even remind me of that. 5 years in a row, Warriors, Cavs, good God. And people say the NBA is still exciting and unpredictable. We've said this playoffs has been amazing, but come on. I mean, it gets old seeing LeBron and everyone dominate, and it's just so much easier to do it in the NBA versus, sport like the NFL. I mean, people could say the same thing about Brady. It seems like he's made every Super Bowl the last 10 years, but there's so much more shifting, in my opinion, in the NFL, or it's so much more harder to do it when it's always like one and done. Playoffs are one and done in the NFL. You have 7 chances to win 4 games in the NBA. And when all the friends band together, i.e. the Miami Heat, i.e. the Brooklyn Nets, and just create super teams, it's just like, what's the point of this? They're going to win every year. Golden State Warriors. I mean, that's why I think, it's just exciting. I mean, I think we're seeing it across all sports, but like you said, it's just as much as it hurt to see like a team like the Celtics, the Celtics slander was in full effect this season, but I would sacrifice that for what's happening right now in the NBA, and it's good to see. But getting back to the Red Sox, we'll just talk about these games pretty casually. So they won on Friday night, 5-3. Perez pitched well, he pitched okay. 3 2/3, 6 hits, no earned runs, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts. I think he actually got hurt, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think so because they pulled him pretty early. I mean, I to expect maybe 2 more innings from that. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that makes more sense. And then, what do you have here? So, and then they went to Sawamura, Whitlock, Ottavino, Barnes. So that was all the pitchers.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the offense. Any big things in the offense? Renfroe had 2 RBIs, 2 walks. This was like the Hunter Renfroe game because he had his 9th outfield assist of the season in this game, if you remember that throw.
Yep. Yeah. Excellent work from Renfroe. Absolutely great.
I mean, what a steal from Hein Bloom. He's not quite where he was with the Padres, where he's raking, 32 homers and whatever it was, 2019. But I would gladly have him back next year. This is where I think me and most Red Sox fans disagree, and you might disagree with me on this, but I would rather bring Renfroe back next year as a 4th outfielder. I don't want him to be one of the starters next year because I think it's just not realistic, in my opinion, to keep him as a starter and expect him to keep producing like he has this year consistently over the next few years because he's only going to be another year older, like you talked about with the Yankees. I think he's going to be like 33 next year. So I think he's like a top-notch 4th outfielder, but I don't want him being one of the starters. I think the starting outfield next year should be something like Verdugo, Kike, and Duran, and then maybe you just have Renfroe as a 4th outfielder, but that's just what I think.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. I feel like I almost want to wait the whole season with Renfroe, just to see like if he continues or it gets even better and does continue to just heat up. Like, yeah, I think with Duran that's tough, and I'm a huge defender of Kike. I was really disappointed seeing him get moved so low, and seeing him struggle a bit lately has been tough. So I don't know. I feel like almost like management would probably move Kike if they were to move anybody, but I just don't know who they'd put at that spot. That's the thing too. Unless they move Renfroe or put Duran there, like that'd be moving. So yeah, if they putting Renfroe in 4th next year might wind up happening, or Kike, one of the two. I don't know, honestly.
I think you just got to keep, as much as I don't want him to keep playing, I think you just got to keep putting Kike in there because we're paying him $7 million. So it's almost like you don't want another Rusney Castillo situation where you're paying someone $10 million just to be in AAA for 8 years.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just Kike is another one where I was really a big fan of him at the start, and I still am. And he actually had a decent series. He had a homer and a sac fly, and I'm all for his versatility. Being able to play second, short, and outfield. But he's a career 230 hitter.
Yeah.
And I don't want that on my leadoff spot. So that's where the idea of bringing Duran up comes in, which, I don't want to rush him because I know the past Red Sox GM, Dave Dombrowski, his MO was, I'll have them skip AAA. I'll bring him up just from AA like he did with an Andrew Benintendi. And obviously that worked out fine. But I don't know if you remember about way back in 2013 with Ben Sherrington. The Red Sox did that with Jackie Bradley Jr., where he skipped AAA because he had an amazing spring training. And he ended up struggling right out of the gate. So you don't want to do stuff like that, in my opinion, and mess with people's development. Obviously, Duran's in AAA, but I read somewhere that he strikes out a ton still. So I'd rather just keep getting the at-bats down there to try and, get that down and then maybe bring him up. But I think it's safe to say he'll be on the roster at some point this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think definitely too if the Sox go deeper, obviously like we're looking at October potentially, looking forward if they sustain how they've been playing. Yeah, we might. And I remember too when Xander Bogaerts initially came in, I think that was in the postseason. So
right before, yep.
Yeah, I maybe we might see that in the Duran situation where he comes in close to the postseason so they can work things out and see, why don't we put in someone else change it up in preparation, have a better leadoff guy potentially. Yeah, I could see that later season happening too. As some of the other guys that are in AAA, like Jeter Downs and in terms of like pitching, like Seabold, and I'd even say Houck, or Hawk, whatever. I think those guys probably next year. And then obviously this series we could talk about him a little more, but Connor Wong was in this series as the backup. So I don't know if you think they're gonna keep him over Plawecki this year. I don't know if he'll wind up replacing Plawecki before the end of the year or not, because Plawecki's not a terrible backup option, but I like Connor Wong, so we'll see what happens. Honestly, I don't know.
So going back to your point about the leadoff hitter, they're trying to, I guess, groom Chavis into being that whenever we call him up. I think he's back down in AAA again, but he was leadoff in this first game, and he went 1 for 5, and all his plate appearances with the Sox this year, he's been okay. Obviously, in his first game when we called him up, he had that homer against Baltimore, but he's like hitting like around 270, the 270 mark. I think sooner rather than later, though, if you call up Duran, like you said, we should definitely put him in at the leadoff spot. I think that would be a great spark. You put your leadoff spot there, or you put your leadoff hitter there in the sense that you don't mind if they're not hitting with anyone on the bases. So why not just throw a rookie there and see what happens? That's my philosophy. So I think when, not if, but when we call up Duran this year, I think that's where he should be in the lineup. We gave Kike a shot at that, and I liked it at the beginning of the year, but as he said, he's struggling, and he's all the way back down to batting 7th now. And then, I think Chavis, he had his chance too, but why not try and go for a spark and call up Duran and put him right there?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not against too, like in that waiting time for Duran if they want to keep Chavis. I mean, he's right now, he's this for stats, he's hitting 244. So I guess that's not horrible. It's better than Kike, but yeah, so I know he's playing tonight too in leadoff. His middle name too is actually Michael Scott Chavis.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. Like I know we were all for the Chavis watch, so we'll see what happens with Ice Horse. But he's still only 25 too, so he's not.
He's only 25.
We'll see. But I'm excited for the potential for Jarren Duran for sure. Like I think it's a watch now.
I just don't want to rush him. When he's completely ready, bring him back up. And Chaim Bloom and everyone have done an excellent job of that and not rushing people so far. Like they've been very careful with the whole Chris Sale rehab. Obviously, that's a different situation, but if it comes down to it, and we're in a race for the division between the Rays and September, and Duran's still not ready or whatever because he still has the strikeout issues, so I've heard. Just keep him down there because he's going to be on the starting roster next year, like we said.
Yeah.
So the other big thing from this game, going back to the first game of the series, I think this Bogarts had a 2-run homer in this game also. So that was good. He's well on his way to the All-Star game. Obviously, we're both going to vote for him, but he's just having a solid year, and he's been just phenomenal for probably going on 6-7 seasons now in a row. Like, he hits for average, he hits for homers, or he hits for power. And people just keep talking about the Tatises and the Lindors of the shortstop world. You got to put Bogarts there too.
Yup. Bogarts, Tim Anderson, definitely the two most underrated for sure. And yeah, Bogarts this year, like he needs his flowers. Like he is just on fire. Defensively, offensively.
More people are appreciating him now this year, finally.
Yup.
And it took a few seasons for him to like get going because when we first brought him up, he did great in that playoff run where we beat the Cardinals in 13. But then we messed with his development because we still had Steven Drew and we were trying to put Bogarts at third because we wanted Steven Drew to play short. So that messed with Bogarts. And then finally, when he was able to become shortstop and he didn't have to worry about what position he was going to play, that's where he really took off. And he's just been as solid as anyone, as consistent as anyone in the Red Sox lineup since 2015. And he's just having a great season, batting well over 300, lots of homers. Not much to complain from on his end. So, the Red Sox take care of business 5-3. DJ LeMahieu had a 2-run homer, I think, in this game. It says he has 2 RBIs. Domingo German had 4 innings pitched, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. So, nothing amazing, but nothing terrible. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. Was this the game where I think this was the game where the bullpen almost imploded. Was this the game Sawamura?
With Sawamura and Ottavino, that was game 2.
Game 2. Okay, so Red Sox take game 1, 5-3, and we can just talk about quickly. Ottavino and Garrett Whitlock, 2 former Yankees, just really sticking it to their club in this series, former club in this series. I mean, I don't know if that offered any more motivation than they already needed, but we basically got both of them for free, and they're just making it pay to their former team for letting them go.
Ottavino,
automatic Ottavino. He's
been so long. He's good. I can't believe it, but he's actually really turning out to be a solid. And those guys, that group they had in this game, actually, I think you mentioned, was Sawamura in that group as well?
Yeah. Yep.
Those are their 4 core guys, I'd say, that they had out there that game. So that's part of the reason they won that game was from the pen too, because Perez went down early. But yeah, to have Whitlock, Sawamura, Ottavino, Barnes, those guys right there, that core 4 is definitely, I think, this far in their best batch of guys they could throw out. And Taylor's not bad either, too, as a 5th guy.
Taylor, 23 straight scoreless outings. And after a rough start to the season, he's really turned it around, too.
Yeah.
I would say everyone I fully trust in the Red Sox bullpen. We talked about that Carabas list. I think the last time we did the podcast, a month ago.
Yeah.
It's been upgraded to Matt Barnes. I would say Matt Barnes, Garrett Whitlock, Adam Ottavino, and Josh Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still on the fence on Sawamura. I think for the most part he's solid, but he had the walks issue in this, and he's been really bad with the home run ball all year. But for $3 million, or I think he's only making $1.5 million for 2 years. So that was a steal by Heim.
Yeah,
I'll take that. I mean, he has a sub-3 ERA. Ottavino, since early May, has really turned it around. I think that Marlins series where there was a few games in the rain was when he really just turned it up, and he's been solid ever since. So, I mean, having your 2 setup guys be Sawamura and Ottavino and then turning it over to Barnes in the 9th, I mean, I'm fine with that formula for the rest of the year. And it's worked for us so far, and I think it's going to keep doing well down the stretch.
For sure, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, just gotta roll with them. The other stat I just remembered was I read somewhere Adam Ottavino has come to games this year, Ricky, with the bases loaded 6 times. And when he has faced the batter with the bases loaded, he has retired them all 6 times. 5 of them being strikeouts.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
He reminds me so much of Craig Kimbrell from the 2018 run. Do you remember how much Craig Kimbrell caused all of us so many panic attacks because he was just so erratic? That's kind of like Ottavino.
Yeah, he definitely has that vibe, that Craig Kimbrell vibe for sure. And you could tell he's really in the zone too. You could tell he looks serious about what he's doing, which is good too. I think he said before with the crowd, and we've seen again way back in Minnesota, the hat, him cheering in the rain. He's a very motivated guy, so I feel like almost like he thrives in those situations, especially in game 2, which we'll talk about too with his situation there. That was a pretty epic moment to get at Fenway against one of the best hitters in the league. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. So
we head into game 2 of this 3-game set between the Red Sox and the Yankees. And on offense, Bogarts went 3 for 3 and had an RBI. Renfroe went 3 for 4, had an RBI. And Kike Hernandez had a sac fly, so we had an RBI. Dahlback had an RBI, and Connor Wong ended up getting his first start because Kevin Plawecki's on the injured list, and he got his first hit in his first major league at bat. A lot of good stuff to come from this game. We jumped out to a 4-0 lead. Do you remember if anyone on the Red Sox had a homer in this game?
The second game?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
I believe
Was Bogart's homer in this game or Renfro?
I think it was either Renfro or Devers in this game. Actually,
Devers was yesterday. I remember that
yeah.
off Cole. Yep. I
There were 4 home runs yesterday. It was Vasquez, Devers, Xander Bogaerts, and I think Kike. And then
Yeah.
he froze.
Yeah, I think we're connection unstable. Hold on, everyone stay put. I didn't know what's going on. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So
Oh God, it's so bad enough for me. Gotta love the game stuff. What to do? Can we just end it? I'm not sure. It's not cutting out stuff. What does it say? Oh, connection is unstable. Yeah, I guess we'll have to end that. It's all blurry. I don't think there's anything I can do.
you could try to like restart it. Or, like,
Let me leave the studio and see if I can come back in.
we're just about waiting for technical difficulties here. See what happens. As we're waiting technical difficulties for just a Red Sox update, to fill the time, Sox bottom of the fourth, 5-4. Hunter Renfroe just hit a solo home run a couple minutes ago, so that's good. I'm assuming Garrett Richards struggling, seeing as he get in first and in the second. Sox are rebounding, so here's your Sox update, courtesy of Donuts.
It's still It's so cutting out for me, and your screen blurry, my screen's blurry. I don't even know. Hold on. Let me do this one more time. Yeah, no luck. What to do here? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I think we're back. I want to say.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll give this another go. So brief intermission. Some technical difficulties, but
I gave a little update too while you were gone, just on the current game. So there you go.
oh,
Sorry
excellent.
to read, but we need to fill the air somehow. So
Right. No, I appreciate that. Oh no, I think everything's getting blurry again. Oh god. Yeah, I hate these technical difficulties. Keepers.
we're going to try to leave and then rejoin. So,
Oh, we can try that. Okay. I don't know if you guys are able to hear me or see me because it's told to say my Wi-Fi connection is unstable, but we're gonna try and figure this out. Red Sox ended up taking the second game as well, 4-2. They jumped out to a 4-0 lead. 2 runs in the second, 1 run in the third, 1 run in the seventh, and then Evaldi pitched a gem, 7 2/3, 7 hits, 1 run, no walks, 6 strikeouts. Only earned run given up was a solo shot to DJ LeMahieu. A lot of little chaos from the bullpen as Salamora did not do well. He walked the bases loaded, wasn't able to get an out of the eighth inning, so Ottavino had to come in, and he was able to get out of the bases loaded jam. He forced someone to a ground out. It might have been Judge. I know he was able to best the Judge, I think, in the second game. Or no, I think it was. Sorry, he got the best Judge at the end of this game, but in the bases loaded situation, he got out of the jam and he ended up getting a 4-out save. Red Sox escaped some bullpen woes and end up guaranteeing that they take series by winning this game 4-2, so they take the first 2-3. You're still all blurry for me. Frozen.
that's on. Boy. Big storm earlier. It wasn't an issue a few minutes ago, so I don't know. Pretty good service down here.
We'll just try and, I guess, wrap this up pretty quickly. So, Red Sox win second game 4-2, and then we get to Garrett Cole. We really, got to Garrett Cole yesterday. He did not pitch well at all. 5 innings pitched. He hits 5 runs. He walks 6 strikeouts. Devers had a 451-foot bomb off of him, and he just took care of business. So the Red Sox ended up sweeping them. It's a good series, no errors, which you love to see. So good defense, good pitching for the most part, some bullpen woes here and there, some walks, but we're winning games, we're pitching as well as needed, and the offense is doing their thing like they've done all year.
Yeah, definitely solid performances from that 2-5, those 2-5 guys as well, which is great to see. Rafael Devers had a great series. Hunter Renfroe had a great series. Xander Parks had an excellent series. It's really what you want. Dugo hung in there. JD had a couple hits. JD had a home run as well in Game 3. Vasquez had a home run in Game 3. He hasn't had a home run in a while, so that was great to see. They really did an excellent job getting to Garrett Cole and the Yankee relievers, and it was definitely a great game for the fans in attendance. I know a lot of people were really making signs and things and just poking fun at the whole spider tax situation, which I think is great. It was just a great win. They kept building the lead on and on. I mean, 9-2 is great. Definitely, in terms of getting the players of the series too, I give the Red Sox for player of the series. I give it to Xander Bogaerts, just for hitting just really solid in the series and really showing doubters and people who might not have known how great he is at a grander scale on these nationally televised games, truly that he is the guy. Devers was great. He had a couple really good defense plays as well at third, which is ideal. And I give it to those two guys. And then in terms of pitching, I give it to Evaldi. He had an excellent outing. Cora threw him out there when he was past 100 pitches, and obviously he had that run off him. I believe it was a home run by Mayhew.
Yeah.
So I don't know why that was necessarily the case, but outside of that, Nathan Evaldi pitched a really solid game. Definitely his best of the year. And in terms of relievers, I'm going to give it to Whitlock because he had some really big outs in games 1 and 3, and he's really coming into the fold as a great young bullpen reliever of the future. And then in terms of the Yankees, as much as it hurts me to give my players of the series to the Yankees, I've got to give my number 1 to LeMahieu. I think he had 3 multi-hit games. I'm pretty sure he had 2+ hits every game. He had a couple home runs, I believe, as well. I feel like he was really getting to the Sox pitchers when the rest of the Yankees were really struggling. Voit was striking out a lot in that series. Stanton struck out a lot. And I'll give the second to Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge had a pretty decent series, a couple errors defensively where he missed some pretty easy catches. And there were a few times he struck out, like when Vino struck him out in Game 2 to close out the game. But outside of that, Aaron Judge, as much as there's been to credit the Yankees, Aaron Judge had a pretty solid series the way he did. The rest of the team just not there. In terms of pitchers, too, I don't even think I can give a pitcher to the Yankees because the Red Sox pretty much smashed their best pitcher, and you love to see it. And then in terms of relievers, too, I guess I'd give I don't know. Honestly, in terms of pitching, the Yankees' pitching was not impressive this series. It was pretty hard to give them credit. So, yeah.
Yeah, so for the Red Sox, I have said earlier to you, Xander Bogaerts has had a great series, went for 3 for 3, had a homer. RBI just keeps playing great defense. Devers obviously with the 450-foot shot off Garrett Cole yesterday. Love to see that. Ran for a great defense, taking some walks as well. Great discipline, getting some timely hits. Kia Hernandez, it's not just for riding on him in this podcast and all the Red Sox community has been riding on all year. I think it's a solid little quiet series with a homer on the very first pitch of the game in Game 3, and then a sac fly. And, JD Martinez, in what seemed like forever, for the first time in forever, homered in the series, which is great. I think you can make a case for a lot of people in the lineup that they had a great series, and what better time for it to come against our striker rivals in the division and the New York Yankees. So that's for the Red Sox hitters, and then for pitching, like you, Evaldi, Garrett Whitlock, Ottavino, the latter two, just sticking it to the team and letting them go for nothing. As we referenced earlier in this podcast, and then Evaldi just with a gem. Core kept them in long in that game. That's here and there. He gave up one run on a solo shot with 2 outs in the 8th, and great 7 innings of work, 7 innings of work, and you need that out of Evaldi, who's going to continue to be your number one starter for at least the next month or so until sales ready to come back. And then for the Yankees, I would say Judge, still had a solid year. Obviously, he wasn't able to play right field in the series as he wanted to, but, getting some good hits. DJ LeMahieu had both RBIs in game 2 of the series. He had a homer as well. So, he's still putting together a good campaign for the Yankees. Losing this series, keeping them in some of these games. Yeah, and then the pitching, Jordan Montgomery have had a decent outing. 6 innings pitched, 8 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. That's nothing amazing, but out of all the pitching appearances or pitching performances in the series for New York, that was probably one of the better ones. So I'll give the pitching nod to him. But you just love to see it with the Red Sox with the Yankees. Second time they've done it this month. So, it's just great to see. But, yeah, we're just going to wrap this up quickly, I guess. Both of our Wi-Fi's or internet connections are just cutting in and out a lot. So
I'm starting to see you a little better as you just said that. It's a little bit delayed, but your face is coming more into view for me. And I
okay, same for you, kind of.
Okay.
Yes, so we want to apologize to everyone for these technical difficulties. It won't happen again the next time we do this. But we just really wanted to desperately make this podcast because we wanted to give you guys content again. We miss making these recaps, and what better time to restart this podcast than to do it when you sweep the Yankees. So the red-hot Red Sox will continue to be hot. They have another series coming up against the Royals that is currently underway, the first game. They're losing 5-1 right now, I think, they tied it up. All right, well, we'll see how the rest of that game goes. Get your popcorn ready. There's still half the game left. It's top of the 5th there, but it's a 4-game set against Kansas City, where they have old friend Andrew Benintendi. He's not playing in the series because I think he's still injured, but, just a little connection there. That's going to do it for you guys. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to hit that like button, absorb that subscribe button. More Red Sox recaps coming. Bruins offseason recaps coming. Patriots offseason recaps coming as well. Same with the Celtics. Really the only thing that's in season are the Red Sox. And, we're all blessed that the boys of summer are playing well and giving us something to root for in the summer months. There's really only one sport that dominates the news. So look forward to all that. Personal interviews will also be coming soon at some point. So lots more content will be coming to my channel. Hit the like button. As I said, why don't you comment down below what you like this part, what you like, what you didn't like, what you like about us, what you don't like about us. We will see you again, hopefully at the end of the World Series. No guarantees, but we hope to get back to doing this on a consistent basis. Good time to be a Sox fan. We'll see you next time, fellas. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Thanks, Ricky, for doing this with me. And we will talk to you next time, already. Have a good day. Take care.